Terry.
And I'm Angel.
And welcome to our weekend chat. Boy, do we have some good stuff to share with you today, right, Beck?
Yes, we do. We're going to have a little chitty chat, but at the end, we're going to share with you our Italian cookie extravaganza.
How'd that come about?
Oh my gosh. I had such a craving for Italian cookies, and just it's very nostalgic for me. And I just remember going to my great grandmother's house on Sunday, and she would have food galore, like nobody in their lifetime could eat that much, but part of that festivity was always the Italian cookies. These would all have powdered sugar on the top, so they look a little bit different, but I know she's looking down on me, super proud. So at the end, we're gonna share these with you. We're gonna share the recipes, and these were really good. I gotta tell you really quickly, when I took the pizzelles out of the pizzelle iron, Terry ate 4 of them. So don't even lie like it's your first time tasting
I cannot
them.
believe how delicious they were. Oh my gosh.
And you don't eat like that. I mean,
I
he eats a lot, but when it comes to sweets, he'll dabble and this and that. But when he came back for 2 more, I was like, he's like, these are delicious.
So we'll talk about that a little later. Absolutely.
All right.
So they're delicious. So that's a good point. So it kind of leads into our chat today. So Angel was so creative enough to come up with Italian cookies and Italian treats, but whole food, plant-based, right?
Absolutely.
So that goes to the different varieties of food that we eat and that we can eat. I don't think there's any food that we can't replicate into a whole food, plant-based recipe, right?
Nope. Absolutely.
And if you think about it, I started doing some research, and there's a lot of different data points and so on and so forth online. But what I keep coming back to is the average family rotates about 9 meals. 9 meals.
In a day? I mean, in a week?
Throughout all the meals that they eat, they rotate about 9 different meals. So they'll have 9 different meals over and over again, consistently, throughout their whole family life.
Maybe they don't enjoy cooking. I don't know.
But that's the average. So I say all that to say, I think that not that we rotated 9 meals, but we go back to a lot of the same,
the
go-to
things that
things.
we really like.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
But since going whole food, plant-based, oh my gosh, I think
it's like fireworks.
It's like discovery, right?
Yeah.
It's discovery. So
yes.
we've discovered so many different recipes and so many different things that you can make. Well, we have at least 20 different recipes of our own that we've loaded up to onto our site.
And every morning it changes, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's actually fun. So I just want everyone to know that, when you go whole food, plant-based, and you go into that lifestyle and that way of living and that way of eating, it just opens up an abundance of different recipes and different things you want to try, and we make it fun, right?
We make it so much fun. And you know what you're giving up? You're giving up back pain. For me, I gave up back pain. You gave up your knee pain from triple jumping, and we gave up our high cholesterol,
right?
And we gave up some heart disease, and we gave up a lot of things that we really wanted to offload. Now we just feel light and vibrant and free, but we don't give up anything else. I was thinking about, for years in support of my mother and her type 2 diabetes, we didn't eat any kind of flour or potatoes or rice or pasta
so it was
or
restrictive.
anything that was very restrictive. And then no sugar, of any kind. And so to be able to make treats like this, because oatmeal wasn't part of our repertoire, because it was oats, and that was like, no. And I know that sounds crazy. What I'm saying right now sounds completely wacko, but it just wasn't. And to be able to create these things and all the things, like you're saying, that we eat every single day, is just incredible. To eat waffles again,
exactly,
and, home fries, and all of those things. So for Terry and I, to Terry's point, if we want to have ribs, we make some kind of ribs. And you know what the funny thing is? What? We are always so impressed with it that we always say, this is so delicious. This is so, we get almost mesmerized by it.
Hey, we do. And you guys know I'm a little spoiled because I have Angel. So Angel comes with these unbelievable recipes and food combinations. And when we started, and Angel's talked about this a lot, on our shows, that you have to have some basic staples. You have to have, different ingredients and different things, whether it's, onion powder and, garlic powder and things of that nature, and a lot of other stuff that she always talks about, because when we first started, some of the things that we would make, they were flat.
Yeah.
They were flat, and they needed some flavor. But, once you had a little garlic powder and onion powder and garlic and onions and some other things that you always, absolutely.
Because I thought we needed the olive oil to make the garlic and onions taste good.
Exactly.
No?
But you didn't, right?
No.
The low sodium better than bouillon.
Yeah.
The
tamari,
the miso, exactly.
All the different sauces that we use to spice things up, the different balsamics, lemons and limes.
Right. But that's very important, right?
Oh, it's so important.
You have to set that baseline with those spices.
Yes, we could fill this counter up with our spices, right? Look,
what about the nutritional yeast?
Oh, the nutritional yeast. And I remember when I first started eating nutritional yeast, just to be really honest, I was like, because I think I expected it to taste like cheese. And I had just come off of cheese. And this is 40 plus years worth of cheese eating. I have a love for cheese like nobody you've ever seen. And I thought that nutritional yeast, people kept saying it's cheesy. So I was like, oh, this is going to taste like cheese. And then when I first tasted it, I don't know, it was weird and it was awkward, and I kept trying to do this, and now we've just blown it up with the nutritional yeast.
Absolutely.
It's so fun, but it takes time. And what we didn't do is give up after the first day when everything was flat and we were full, but it was like, that was okay.
Right, exactly.
We're just being real here, and after the first week, but you start to get your stride. I do have a love for cooking and a love for discovery, and I'm like, we are gonna make that something that we love, and we have just really taken it over the top with the way the things taste.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. But you're so right. Those things are so important.
And it's really you, babe. It's really you coming up with these great, you guys know, coming up with these great, recipes and combinations and food combinations, and oh my gosh, it's incredible.
Yeah, but you guys know, hold on a second, honey. You guys know after you make a whole food plant-based meal, you're really using your kitchen, right? And you have a pile of dishes, you have this. When I'm done cooking, I have nothing. Because I have this person chopping for me, washing the dishes. He's tripping me, running the vacuum. Sometimes it's a little bit too much. You're such an immaculate.
And I'm taste testing along the way, which is an extra bonus and added benefit.
Well, that's a good thing when you don't use raw eggs, because you can taste everything, because nothing's raw. There's no raw hamburger.
Exactly. You're right.
You can taste it all.
You're absolutely right. You can taste test all the way through the entire production line.
And then when it's time to eat, I'm so full.
I'm so full I can't eat. That's so funny. Oh my God.
Absolutely.
So we just wanted to share, because that's very, very important. And again, making it fun, bringing your other family members in if you have, just anybody that you would like to invite over and say, this is the original recipe that's not whole food plant-based. How can we make this whole food plant-based?
How can we do it? And they actually get really excited. And then I try to tell them, we're going to give you a lot of food that's going to make you have a lot of fiber and make stuff happen to your body. So, this zone is fine to fart in, I have to tell people because at first that's hard for people and all of that. But I think it made me think of Angelo, our son. He has such a love and a hobby for grilling, barbecuing, and smoking.
Right.
Oh my gosh, he's a smoke king.
He's incredible.
And I didn't even like things smoked before Ange, but let me tell you. Oh, so anyway, he loves that stuff, and he really does believe in this lifestyle, and he does not follow this lifestyle 100%. He's also has to be gluten-free because he's celiac, so he has a lot of his own challenges, but he works so hard at trying to make these adjustments because he understands.
Right.
And his wife can't eat nuts, so it's like all of this stuff.
Right.
But he spends time when he has time off, which is very little, But he calls me and says, Mom, I just made a whole food plant-based meat. He's made brisket. He's made different kind of things. He has a surprise for us right now. He said, Mom, I made you a surprise for a treat. I smoked one and I barbecued one, and I think in this particular thing that I made, which we have no idea what it is, he liked it barbecued better. But the point I'm trying to make is what Terry was saying is that you don't have to give up the things that you love. I know a lot of people that love smoking and grilling. My neighbor is a major smoker, so you don't have to throw the smoker out or put it on Craigslist.
Right.
Have fun and then make things, and people come and they taste it, and they are blown away.
It may take you a few times, 2 or 3 times, but you'll get there, right?
Yep, you'll definitely get there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, honey, just like we got here today.
Yes.
So I'm excited. I'm excited to
cookie extravaganza.
Yeah, tell us about it, baby. Tell us about
or cookie trifecta. Okay. So
do we need to stand up?
Today, sure.
Okay.
So today we made pizzelles, and I have such a love for pizzelles. So when I was growing up, we had the really crispy pizzelles, the ones that you bite and they just crumble everywhere, and those are the ones that I've grown to love. A lot of the pizzelles that I've eaten from my friends and my family are absolutely delicious, taste the same. They're more cake. So these ones that I made are more like the cake ones.
Yes.
And Terry was like, admitted today after all these years, I like the cake ones better.
I do.
What?
I do.
Okay, so I was like, well,
a little
okay, fine. So no, but these tasted, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I have the recipe coming up for you after this chat. Unbelievable. Cannoli dip. My sons, Angelo and Anthony, oh my gosh, they go bananas over cannoli dip, and it took me years to perfect like what they wanted from a certain bakery that they got it from, and I perfected it. And I made this cannoli dip today, and I am just so excited. It looks like it's chocolate or brown.
It's good.
It is an all-natural sweetener that I actually use. All this stuff is oil-free, salt-free, and sugar-free. You're gonna be so excited. So this actually tastes like cannoli filling. It looks brown. I realize that, and I did sprinkle a little cinnamon to make the plate pretty, but it doesn't taste like it's chocolate. It's just the sweetener that I put in there. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Wow, the ricotta taste, and it's sweet. Look how creamy it is. Oh my goodness.
I can't wait for you guys to taste this.
And then these look like biscotti, but these are actually Anisette Sponge. So the reason,
I haven't tasted these yet.
They're so good. I did.
Can I taste?
Yes, of course.
Or are we gonna taste after?
So yeah, you could taste anytime you want. I'm not gonna stop you from eating. I love you to eat. So the Anisette Sponge brought me back to my childhood. My great grandmother who came from Italy, she used to make the Anisette Sponge all the time. Every Sunday we'd go to her house to eat, and it would be there. And she would have it in a special box. And
so good.
It was just. I thought you would like this better because I like things really hard. I love the biscottes, and just it's so hard and crunchy. I love the crunchy. But so Terry likes things softer.
I'm a soft one, yeah.
So these are not only salt, oil, and sugar free. They are all gluten free. I decided to make everything gluten free. I made these little chips a little bit sweet to go with. Aren't they wonderful?
Wow.
So let's try.
Okay.
The cannoli. And you know, you could, if you were making these cannoli for a party that you were having or a function, you could just maybe pipe the dip through a bag and put it on the chips and lay them on a plate. Or you can do this as a dip. It's fun. I mean, it doesn't matter how you do it. Salud, honey.
Wow.
Isn't it good?
I don't know how you did it. I don't know how you made that whole food plant-based.
I cannot wait for my kids to try this.
Wow.
Because they're the true trust. My kids are tough customers. Come on, honey, you know they are. In your favorite.
They should have been food critics.
This will be the 5th one for Terry. Do you want to share with me?
Sure.
I want the Anisette Sponge.
Okay. Taste it. I can't wait for you guys to try these.
This is so.
And we've been getting a lot of people asking about.
Well, I had people asking
treats
for
and
Italian.
desserts.
Well, desserts. an Italian thing. So I was like, okay. I woke up, I had a taste. It's a weekend, I had some time to bake, and I did it. And it was really fun, but for you guys that are asking, I'm reading, I'm listening, I'm watching. We got you. This is magnificent.
Unbelievable. Wow.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you
welcome,
for
babe.
loving it.
You're welcome. Thank you for
Thank
making.
you for washing my dishes.
No, you're welcome, babe. This was awesome. This was awesome.
It really was, and now I want to get full on this, and that's probably not a good idea. But I feel like it's guilt-free.
It is. It is.
So recipes are coming right now. If you love what we're doing, guys, subscribe to our channel.
Subscribe,
if you are
let us know.
subscribed, if you are subscribed, thank you so much for your support. It means
Thanks,
so
guys.
much to Terry and I.
It does. It means
We're
a
on
lot.
a mission, and we are getting there.
Absolutely.
So stay tuned for all 3 of these recipes. Have a wonderful weekend. Love
Take
you
care,
guys.
guys. Take
Bye.
care. Bye-bye.
We'll start our baking by making the cannoli dip. So we use 2 cups of unsweetened plant milk. As you know, we love the unsweetened Planet Oat. To the oat milk, we'll add the juice of 1 lemon, as well as the zest of 1 lemon. Be sure not to get any of the white part, it's kind of bitter. 1 tablespoon of nutritional yeast, and 2 tablespoons of pure maple syrup. To that, we will also add a 1/4 cup of Lucuma powder. Lucuma powder is an all-natural fruit. And that is why the dip was kind of a funny color, but was absolutely delicious. We'll also add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Put it in a pot, bring it to a slow boil for 5 minutes. When it boils after 5 minutes, whisking and whisking and whisking the majority of the time because you don't want it to stick. We also added 1½ tablespoons of Agar powder to make it thick. Please don't forget the Agar powder, just like I just forgot to tell you it was in there. And then pour it into a glass container. Let it cool on the counter for 10 minutes. Cover it and then put it in the fridge for at least 30 minutes to an hour. In the meantime, we're gonna make cannoli chips, which were delicious. I used a 1/4 cup of balsamic vinegar, which was actually the balsamic glaze. I also used 1 teaspoon of date paste, 1 teaspoon of pure maple syrup. The reason I did that is because cannoli shells are usually made with Marsala wine. And to mimic the taste of Marsala wine, I used the sweet balsamic glaze because it's already reduced and sweet. Mixed it with the date paste to get that sort of fruity flavor that you get from the Marsala wine. And then a little bit of pure maple syrup to make them sweet, because after all, we are making cannolis. For this, I used 9 corn tortillas, my favorite, Trader Joe's 3-ingredient corn tortillas. And I just took the hot dip and just spread it out nicely with a brush on top of my tortillas. I stacked them so that the syrup would get on both sides. I cut the tortillas into 6 triangles. You can make yours the size you like. That's the great thing about doing your own baking. It's to your liking. Then I took the triangles and I put them directly on the cookie sheet. I would recommend, because of all the syrup and the date paste, that you go ahead and put those on a parchment-lined cookie sheet. Either way, they turned out great, but a couple of mine stuck, and we don't want to lose any of them. Although Terry and I did eat the crumbs, to tell you the truth. So we went ahead and baked those for 10 minutes on 350 degrees after I sprinkled them with a little bit of cinnamon. I like the cinnamon taste. If you don't like cinnamon, leave it off and sprinkle the cinnamon to taste. Again, 350 degrees in a convection oven for 10 minutes. If you're not using convection, I would put your oven on 375 for 10 minutes. They turned out nice and crispy. That is the cannoli dip after it was in the fridge for about 30 minutes to an hour. It was just perfect. That's what happens when you use agar powder. It makes it a cheese. Again, it looks chocolatey. It did not taste chocolatey. That came from our all-natural Lucuma powder. Just blend it up really quickly. You don't want to make it watery. So just enough to make it a soft cheese, just like a cannoli dip. And you see, voila. Now we're going to make our pizzelles, in which we're going to use 2 bananas that I mashed, and then I used an immersion blender. The reason I did that is because I needed butter, and that turned out as a perfect butter. I was really excited. So I put my butter in, and then I put my, what used to be sugar and is now 1/4 cup of maple syrup. And that was basically my butter and sugar, just like you do with regular cookies. You put those together first. Then I used 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract because I like 1 part of vanilla to 3 parts of anise in my pizzelles. If you don't like anise extract so much, or you like equal parts, use equal parts. But for me, I use 3, well, maybe a little bit more than 3 of the anise extract and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. You could just use vanilla if you don't like anise. Either way, they're delicious. Incorporate that really well. And then we're going to add our egg, because we have basically our butter and our sugar in there. And now we're going to add our egg. So I used 1/2 cup plus 1 tablespoon of water. To that, I added 3 tablespoons of flax. And then we had eggs, which worked out fabulously. Whisk them together nicely, because with pizzelles, everything has to be nice and smooth so it works out well in your pizzelle iron. When I used to make pizzelles with my grandmother, we would sift everything. So with this, you're going to see me start to sift, except for the Lucuma powder, which is really very, very fine and very, very powdery. You don't have to worry about that so much, but just as an example, we'll send it through the sifter. Then I put oat flour, so that's 3/4 cup of oat flour. And then I sent everything through my sifter. Oat flour is sort of thick, so then I had to start to press it through with my hand, which is fine. But just make sure that everything goes through the sifter, which makes the pizzelles so nice. And then you just add it, you incorporate a little bit at a time, and then mix it up. When you have a little bit of your flour left, or in this case, oat flour, then you add your baking powder. To this, as you can see, I added 1 teaspoon. And then you get everything in there. You just keep incorporating nicely and mixing and keeping the batter very, very smooth. I was really impressed with that mixture, given that pizzelles originally are really melted butter, sugar, and eggs. That's really the base. So that's incredible to get a batter like that when you've used bananas as butter. Pretty inventive. So I warm my pizzelle iron up. Any pizzelle iron you have. This pizzelle iron is 28 years old and I absolutely love it and I don't want to get rid of it. So it's a little bit beat, but it works fabulous for me. It's nice and seasoned. So I use 1 tablespoon of batter on each side. And for these pizzelles, since they're a different kind of batter, it did take 3 minutes. If you remember, I said they were cakey. So if you want them to be a little bit more crispy, you could leave them a little bit longer. But for each batch of the pizzelles, it was exactly 3 minutes. They came off really nicely. You obviously don't need any oil or anything added. So that is a heck of a whole food plant-based pizzelle, and we love them. I didn't think I was going to have any left to show you when Terry was around, but it all seemed to work out. Now we'll make our Anisette sponge. Again, I used a half of a banana in this mixture to make as my butter. And I added water. What I would do, I learned after I did it, because I'm going to add that's really, to me, my butter and my 3 eggs all in one. So that was a half a cup of butter, which is a half a banana, 3 tablespoons of flax, 1/2 cup plus 1 tablespoon of water, and then I just turned on my mixer. If I were to do it differently, I would mash the banana first, but it all worked out. See, look at the batter. Nice and smooth. Again, I use the organic Lucuma powder, which is a little fruit that comes off of a tree in Chile. And the only sugar in there is 1 sugar because it's all natural. And that 1 gram of sugar actually comes from the fruit. It is really wonderful to use for baking. The reason I always use a little bit of maple syrup with it is to cut anything that may have a funny aftertaste. So in this, I did use a 1/4 cup of maple syrup. So it's a half a cup of our organic Lucuma powder and a 1/4 cup of our maple syrup. That's all the sweetness we'll need for these wonderful cookies. Once you incorporate it really well and it gets nice and smooth, like you see there, then I added my oat flour. I just use organic oat flour and that keeps everything gluten-free. You can grind your own oats. You do not need to buy your oat flour like this. Depending on what day it is, depends on what I use. I needed a lot, 2.5 cups. So I was doing a lot of baking, so I was using my oat flour. I put it in kind of gradually, but not really. And then for this, I'm going to use baking soda and baking powder. So for the baking soda, it's just a half a teaspoon, and the baking powder is 2 teaspoons. I really do like the no sodium baking powder if you can find it. To that, of course, I was going to have to add a lot of anise, because how can you have anise sponge cookies if they don't taste anisey? So for me, I used 4 teaspoons and may have over-exaggerated a little bit. Terry doesn't love anise as much as I do, so he probably could have used a little bit less, but for me, that was fantastic. And the smell was just incredible. And then I mix it up, not to overmix, just to get the anise in there. And then I was all ready to roll them out into a log. See how nice the batter is? It doesn't stick. It's just a really nice consistency. I was really pleased with it, given again that we used bananas as butter. How cool was that? Then I take the dough, all of it. I just did this one in 1 log. Tried to make it about I don't know, 12 inches long and make it as uniform as I could, because with these cookies, they have a 2 baking process. So as you can see, it's pretty uniform. I mean, as uniform as you can get when you're baking. And I put it in a 350 degrees Fahrenheit convection oven for 20 minutes. I took it out, I let it cool for 5 minutes. Once I let it cool for 5 minutes, I put it on my cutting board and I sliced the cookies. I laid the cookies back out on the parchment paper. And then once I had them all sliced up, I put them back in the oven for 10 minutes. They just smelled and tasted really delicious. And there you have it. There's our beautiful cannoli dip with our chips, the pizzelles, which were just so wonderful, and the gorgeous Anisette Sponge cookies, which I absolutely loved. We thoroughly enjoyed these desserts. I hope you do too.